preview show here on Better Than Vegas. We got to figure out a name for this one. We've got Kyle, DFS Bachelor. We've got Eric here. I was thrown out. This is a Bill Simmons thing, but like NBA holes, that would kind of fit us a little bit. You know?
That's not bad.
Yeah. But we'll have some fun with it. Eric was on my show last year. We had our basic NBA who's hot, who's not segment. But what we're going to do anytime we pop up for these NBA shows, we're here to help you make some money. We're here to try to give you good information. We're trying to share our handicapping analysis with you, some of the reasons why we're playing these games, these sides, these props. We'll have some fun while we're doing it. We'll probably go about 30 minutes today. We'll preview the Jazz-Suns game, and then we're each going to dish out some of our best bets and how we're looking at the NBA slate for today. So, fellas, the game that we're looking at Nitro betting right now. If you want to sign up for an account, Nitro betting is based around crypto. This number has moved a ton just from last night. When this game opened up last night, I actually was very lucky to lock in Utah on the money line at plus 100. Yeah. This game opened with Phoenix as a 1.5 point favorite in that range, and the money has really moved because Phoenix is going to be very undermanned today. They have a lot of injury issues that they're dealing with. So, Kyle, this number in some spots is all the way up to Utah minus 3.5 or so. We can see the total in this game is 224.5. Do you have any thoughts on either the straight game or the over-under here?
It's hard for me to take Phoenix here. I like Phoenix at home. Phoenix is a good team, but when you look, so no Cameron Payne, no Chris Paul, right? Aaron Holiday is probably going to miss this game too. So if you look at what they did in the last game, they just started Devin Booker, and then they played 4 forwards and Ayton, right? They just went massive. Yeah. That's going to be tough to keep up with guys like Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley that way. Mike Conley, for the record, is priced really. If you're playing like this little afternoon slate on DFS, Mike Conley's at 5,600 on FanDuel. If he was that price and $6K on DraftKings, at that price, he would hit 5 times value or more 60% of the time on FanDuel this year and 55% of the time on DraftKings. So it is a nice price. Phoenix is good against opposing point guards, but remember, no Chris Paul. So we might see a lot more Devin Booker. Maybe they put Michael Bridges over there to sort of defend him, but then who, right, is going to deal with Donovan Mitchell? If you put, you're going to try to have Cameron Johnson. You're going to try to have Jay Crowder. I don't see how that works here. For me, this is Utah or nothing. I'm inclined to lean the under a little bit. These are two good defensive teams. I did get burned doing that earlier in the week. Trying to remember who they play. I took the under, and it was like 124, 121. And they put up 240 some points, and you're like, what the hell just happened here? You expect Phoenix to be able to keep it down. So I'm a little tentative on that. It'd be a slight lean to that under. It has moved from 225 to 224.5. I like that quite a bit. One prop play I will throw out there that I like quite a bit. I love 3-point props when I'm betting the NBA. It's one of my favorite things to bet. If you look at the 3-point props, Donovan Mitchell over 3.5 threes is at plus 105.
Okay.
Now if you just look at all of his games since coming back from injury, right? Here are his 3-point attempts just since he came back from injury on February 4th. So the month of February, essentially. 7, 10, 10, 11, 9, 11, and 12. He's made 4 or more threes in all but 2 of those games. So now you're getting plus money on a nice trend. Plus 105 over 3.5 threes, I think, makes a ton of sense for Donovan Mitchell. And for me, it's Jazz or nothing here. I just don't know where the ball handling is going to come from. What's going to happen with Phoenix when Devin Booker's not in the game and he can't play every minute?
They struggle. They had to get Elfrid Payton into the rotation. Yeah. Most recently, they have nobody else out there that honestly, because they're down 3 point guards right now, and Devin Booker isn't really a point guard. He's very capable of being a playmaker and getting other guys involved. But Eric, it's sort of hard when we look at, for this game in particular, looking at a lot of the metrics with Phoenix in the next part of the year is going to be difficult because everything you're looking at is based on stuff with Chris Paul. And they don't have Chris Paul. Even the numbers like Utah 26, 31, and 2 against the spread, Phoenix 33 and 22 against the spread. But now things are going to change a little bit for them. They've got a nice cushion with the number 1 spot, but this team is going to look like a lot different team for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, without Chris Paul there, definitely the offense is going to take the hit, and that's kind of where my play went. I played the under 110 for the first half. You look at Utah over the last 2 weeks, they give up 106.1 points per 100 possessions, which is second in the NBA. The Suns give up 108.6 points per 100 possessions, which is fourth in the NBA. So like what Kyle was saying, both these teams have been great defensively over the last 2 weeks. What you guys hit on, no Paul, no Payne, likely no Holiday. So the Suns are going to more than likely be without their top 3 point guards. I really think that their sets are going to, and the half court set are going to struggle. They're not going to be able to get out and get points in the transition on fast breaks. And then you just look at it. Suns are averaging 8 points less per 100 possessions when Paul is not on the court. And then one thing Monty's really good at is, like Kyle was saying, he staggers when Paul's there and when Booker are out. Yeah. When you look at that per 100 possessions, the Suns are averaging 7.1 points less with those guys not on. So I really think the Suns are going to struggle to score. Yep. I don't like betting full game totals. I like betting halves, under. So that's why I'm on the under first half.
Especially in nowadays where you can play live, right? Because
I was sweating I took the under in the Kings and Nuggets last night. It breezed. It was like 237.5. So it was an easy win. But you have you have 45 seconds left. It's 110. You're like, holy shit, this goes to overtime. My under is gone. So that's a big thing for you don't have to worry about overtime if you're betting a first half under. So that's a nice little way to take it as well.
And then with the thought of it being a lower score game, this takes it to my first player prop. I found DeAndre Ayton under 14.5 points at plus 110. In the 7 games versus Gobert, he's only averaging 11.4 points per stat muse, and his shooting percentage is 51%, which is down 9% from his career average. And then you look at the games that he has played, those 7 games, he's only twice has gone over that 14.5 point mark. And then he's only averaging 13 points a game when there's no Chris Paul. So what he does with the pick and roll, that's really going to limit what he's best at doing offensively.
Yeah, that all comes together in a handicap right there too, right? Not as good against Gobert. And now you look at, like we said, Devin Booker, he can get, like, one of the props I played and locked in was Devin Booker over assists, which is 6.5, because who else? Like, he had 12 assists 2 games back. The ball's going to be in his hand every time down. They don't have anyone else. They don't have Campaign. Aaron Holiday out still, right? Because he was questionable on the, and so now you're getting, like we said, no CP3, Saric, Kaminsky, Holiday, Payne. Now you're getting to Elfrid Payton. He had to play 14 minutes without Payne. So, I mean, the game on Thursday, Phoenix got 25 minutes from Holiday. He was 5 for 5 with 5 assists. That was a big boost for them in 25 minutes. That's not there. They're in serious trouble. A couple narrative-y things.
Just to piggyback what you were saying, I think it's going to come on to Bridges. Kyle, if you haven't Googled Mikal Bridges' mom, you can thank me later. You can Google that after the show.
Love that. I'm going to do it right now.
I think he's going to be the facilitator. I think he's going to be the one with the ball in his hands. I found him at over 3.5 assists. You look at it, he averages 5 assists when there's no CP3. The last 2 games with no CP3, 4 assists, 6 assists. I think the ball is going to be in his hands, and he's going to be the one trying to be the playmaker.
Literally took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, look at these Jay Crowder, Michael Bridges. Jay Crowder's at 2.5. Bridges 3.5 would be the one. It's juiced up at like 140.
Somebody's going to have to.
Absolutely.
Inevitably. Like, they're going to double Booker a little bit. The ball's going to come out of his hands a few times, and it's going to get swung around. One of the props, you hit the Mitchell. I'm fine with Mitchell over 26.5 points also. Remember the last time these two teams played, they played twice so far this year. After the game, Gobert made these comments about how Devin Booker has really grown up a lot. He plays a lot of defense. It was basically like calling out Mitchell. Like Gobert and Mitchell have this little back and forth, And I think Mitchell will really play well in this game in particular too. Like, we're talking about the matchup and stuff. You're going to have these guys for Phoenix that when Chris Paul's there and Cameron Payne's there, Phoenix is a really good, well-built team. Everybody can play their roles really well. But now everyone's going to have to kind of be up a level, doing things that they don't normally do. I think their defense is going to suffer also. Some of these guys that are going to have to carry a higher load offensively and then go to try to stop Donovan Mitchell on the defensive end, I think they're going to be in some trouble there. Yeah. If you're Utah, you got to look around. Like, I don't believe in Utah as a team once it comes playoff time. I never have with this current group. But if you are Utah right now and you just saw Chris Paul get hurt, and you look at Golden State and what's going on with Draymond over there, like, you look around the West, why don't you look in the mirror and think you have as good a chance to get there right now as anyone? Like, this has to be a really big, like, if I were them in that locker room, that would be what I'd be telling them. Look, we may have gotten another great opportunity where we look around and everyone's a little bit banged up. We're getting healthy right now. I think they're going to start to play pretty well. Utah, they coming into this game, they have they're playing against the Phoenix team that played Thursday and Friday night,
right,
and now plays early Sunday.
Right.
That's kind of a lot. That's 3 and 4 nights.
And Rudy Gobert starting to finally get into his full minutes after coming back. So, it's no more of this crap we had with who the hell was the backup center kept starting for Utah. It was driving me absolutely insane. But, Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah.
Hassan Whiteside. So, we're sort of out of that thing. I will say for you, if you're playing DFS, right, you want to pay up for Devin Booker. He has scored 118 fantasy FanDuel points in his last 2 contests against Utah. They are 4th against opposing shooting guards. They are very good defensively, but there is some upside there. Of course, it's that 2-game sort of afternoon slate. Malcolm Brogdon, by the way, the other game in this little afternoon slate, that Pacer Boston game, he's at 5,800 or 5,800, I want to say, on FanDuel, which is crazy low. He would have hit 5 times value at that price on FanDuel 69% of the time this year. He played 30 minutes in his first game back, only a 19% usage rate in that first game. I know Tyrese Halliburton's going to take some of that now with that trade, but you got to expect Malcolm Brogdon will have a higher than 19% usage rate as he gets back into it. And I think it's encouraging that he played 30 minutes in his first game back.
Kyle, DFS Bachelor, you'll always hear a lot of really good information for those of you who are playing DraftKings, FanDuel. Basketball is really fun because I know a lot of people get into it for football, but basketball is a fun one. I much prefer basketball than baseball. Baseball gets hard because the problem with baseball is that, it's not even crazy for one of the best hitters in the league to just go 0 for 3 on any random day.
I've had lineups in first place. I'm winning $100,000 legitimately. All I need is Mike Trout to not get a goose egg, and Mike Trout at 6,300 on DraftKings against fucking, Matt Harvey goes 0 for 5. And you're just like, son of a bitch. The floor and the ceiling for every player in baseball is so impossible. And it's so home run.
Is consistent. Like, you know what you're going to get from someone, even in a bad spot. You know what I mean? Like, most people, even when they struggle, there's a floor that you're going to get from them. And
except for Scotty Barnes yesterday. Fuck you, Scotty Barnes.
Yeah,
11.8 FanDuel points, you piece of shit.
But that's what's so difficult. It's not even that crazy in a football game for, maybe a good player to get 1 or 2 catches because maybe the offense wasn't shifted around them. They got a defensive score or 2. The team got up early and all of a sudden they started running the ball. But in basketball, what's nice about playing in these DraftKings or FanDuel DFS stuff is that you said you pick a lot of the time, most of your players, you sort of have a pretty consistent idea of what they're going to get you from game to game. So it's just about exploiting the matchups, about which teams match up better. Oh, maybe there's some injuries, so this guy's going to get a little bit more room. COVID stuff,
it's a lot different now than it was when I first started doing DFS shows 5 years ago. 5 times, if you got 5 times value, what that basically means if a player is 6,000 on DraftKings, if they got you 30 points, 5 times value, that's great. Things have gotten so much sharper. You're not winning a tournament at 6. You need 7, 8, 9 times value in some of these spots now to win. That just was not the case 5 years ago. Even cash games, FanDuel cash games, like, holy shit, you need 300.
They're smarter. They got their systems.
Well, there's more content now. There's more content. More people are watching.
So the floor is higher.
The floor is so much higher.
The novice person that just begins, they've already got a much better idea of what they're doing right away when they get involved versus, like you said, 5-10 years ago, I remember some of my first things at DraftKings, you're feeling it out. Your first couple games are a process. People come in right away and they know exactly what they're doing. Absolutely. And you can always have some fun playing some NBA, DraftKings, FanDuel, some of the NBA prop games. So for me, some of the bets I locked in here, Mitchell over 26.5 points. I went, which was minus 105. Booker assists over 6.5, which was plus 100. I locked in the Utah money line last night at plus 100. And I generally put a few bucks if I very much like a team on a big win. Utah to win this game by 11 or more was plus 430 when I locked that in last night. I mean, if Utah just kills them and they win by 12 to 15, I'll take the 4.5 to 1 or so.
They're still overvaluing Phoenix. Just the other day, the Pelicans were 7.5 point dogs. That was an easy call. Pelicans plus 7.5. Pelicans beat them by double digits. I mean, come on. So I think that's a nice spot.
Eric, give us some of the ways you're going to be looking to play this game.
Well, like I said, I got the under first half. I think both teams are going to struggle. Phoenix isn't going to be able to get on run. I got that minus 110 juice. Ayton plus 110 under 14.5 points. I think he's going to struggle with what he does best with the pick and roll, pick and pop with no Paul there. And I think Bridge is going to be the facilitator. I got him over 3.5 assists at minus 105. So those are the 3 plays I got for this game.
Kyle, what do you have locked in for this one?
Let me just say I like all 3 of those plays. I'll probably go ahead and sprinkle. I really like the Bridges assist. I like the Ayton under points as well. I mean, Rudy Gobert is no stiff, and the thing is, Rudy Gobert is not a perimeter type center, so he's going to stay in his lane in the paint.
They were like applauding him for stepping out one time on Luka the other night. Did you hear that? Like, Rudy Gobert was switching because it's like so unoften that he does that. Yeah,
right. And he's such an aggressive offensive rebounder, etc. You could see Ayton get in foul trouble in this spot as well. So I think that's a really nice call. For this one, I got the Mitchell over 3.5 threes. I know it's risky. You need him to make 4, but his volume is so high and you're getting plus money on it. Again, hasn't done it in 2 of his last 7 games. So he's really been on fire from 3-point land. I like that quite a bit. I like Utah straight up, to cover. I think they covered this game relatively easily. No concern there. And I took the under for the full game. I kind of wish I'd have done the first half. It does always make you nervous if it's close. You're like, oh shit, 4-point game, 3 minutes left. Do not go to overtime. Obviously, you saw in that Spurs Heat game a couple nights ago that will kill any under you ever try to get. But I do think they go under here. 2 good defensive teams. You're going to see a slower pace from Phoenix, plain and simple. With no Chris Paul, it's going to be a pace down game in that spot. So I like all 3 of those as well.
So every Sunday when we join you here, there will be that 3:30 marquee game, 3:30 Eastern time, 12:30 Pacific. We'll always kind of dive into that game like we did. We'll spend 15 minutes on it. We'll break that game down. We'll give you some props, and then we'll share any other plays that we have throughout the rest of the slate. So we probably won't break every game down, but we'll each give some opinions on other games that we will be playing. So other games on the slate for today. Big shout out to Akbar Salev. Says Kyle, my man. Akbar's checking in with us.
Akbar is the man.
Well, good luck today, Akbar. Let's make some money today. Rest of the games on the slate, you can see as we look here at Nitro. We've got Philly, New York. That game is at halftime from earlier this morning. You got Boston at Indiana, Detroit at Charlotte, the Clippers at Houston, Mavs at the Warriors, Nuggets at Portland, and then we finish up the night with the Pelicans at the Lakers. So let's start with you, Eric. Any other games on the slate that you want to give a play or two out for?
I got one more play pending, and it pains me to say this, but I took the Lakers minus 1.
Oh
there
my God.
Go.
Oh my God.
I love it. I love it.
I can't do it.
We go.
I'm a Lakers fan. I love the Lakers. I can't take them as a favorite. I can't do it.
The only reason why I'm okay with this play is because it's not like you're laying a bunch. You're basically at 2 saying it's Lakers money line. Tell us a little bit about why you like the Lakers tonight, Eric.
Since joining the Lakers, LeBron is 9-2 versus the Pelicans. You look at this season after a loss, Lakers are 14-5 straight up. So, I mean, I played at -1. It's basically a straight up game. Yeah. On the flip side, the Pelicans, this is what they've done all year. They win, and then they're 2-12 straight up following a win. You just beat the Suns. Now let's look at it. You have a young team. You just beat the Suns. After the Suns game, you travel to LA. I have friends that have played in the NBA that are still playing in the NBA. When guys get to LA, they party. They go out. Also, LeBron's going to want to control the narrative. LeBron's getting absolutely sandblasted right now in the media, saying he wants to go to Cleveland, saying people are saying he's unhappy with.
There was a quote out there, or who recently said just today, it's been going all over the place. Yeah. LeBron's still good, but he can't carry you. Yeah. Like he loves that shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. He gets such he's gonna
be more motivated than like game 60 on a Sunday night against the Pelicans.
Don't you think LeBron is just so rich and famous now that he just gets bored and says dumb shit just to say dumb shit because there's nothing else to do? Like there's nothing. What entertains LeBron nowadays? Like he can go to any golf course he wants. He can go to any country he wants. He can go to any place he wants. Talk to anybody he wants. So he just says dumb shit to like piss people off. I swear to God, that's what he does.
I know.
And then one more thing. I still think the Pelicans are figuring out the offense since getting CJ. You look at it. I'm a huge Brandon Ingram guy. I love BI. But you look at him since McCollum's come there, he's averaging 5 points less a game. He's not getting as many shots. They're running a lot more sets, a lot more stuff through CJ. I think they're still trying to figure it out. And next year, this is going to be a team I'm going to be interested in playing the overs on. But right now, after a win, I'm going to be looking to fade them.
That is coming up a little later on tonight with the Lakers. Kyle, any other plays for you on today's card?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of went, well, I didn't take the Pelicans here, but I do have a play in that game. The Lakers allow the most fantasy points in the league to opposing point guards. The 9th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Are absolutely putrid defensively in the backcourt.
Yep.
CJ McCollum, since coming over, he may be averaging 5 points less, but he's got 30 in 3 of his last 4, 38, 30, 36. He's only had less than 23 points once. That was his first game.
Always dusted the Lakers.
And let's look at his shot attempts. This is big for me. The only time he took less than 18 shots was that game where they blew Toronto out by 30 points. But other than that, 21, 24, 25, 26, and 18 shot attempts in those games. I took the over 23.5 points for CJ McCollum at minus 130. I just don't know who on the Lakers is going to stop him. The ball has been in his hands a ton. When you look at his usage rate, let me pull up his usage rates again because I forgot it, but I believe all 3 of his last 4 games were 32% or higher in terms of usage rates in those games. So the ball obviously is going to take close to 20 attempts. Yeah, 32, 34, and 30 in his last 3 games, 54, 50, and 46, playing nearly 30, playing 37, 39, and 34 minutes. It's a close game, so you expect him to be there in crunch time. You won't get those blowout minutes. Over 23.5 for CJ McCollum, minus 130, I think makes a ton of sense.
There have been a few guys through the years who just crushed the Lakers.
And CJ McCollum is one of them.
McCollum always just destroyed the Lakers, and
who else? Joe Ingles kicks the shit out of the Lakers.
Joe Ingles just kills them.
I don't understand
it. Notorious Laker killers. He's one of them. And it's really sad. It's a sad state of the Lakers when, like, Avery Bradley not being there actually does hurt them from a defensive standpoint because I think Malik Monk has been really good this year.
Yeah.
And actually, like, even more competent than we probably think defensively, but it's really sad that he's out there trying to play defense on guys like this.
Yeah.
Like he's the person that you're like, I still don't understand. How can Westbrook not be a better defender? Like, how can he not be just above average with how athletic he is and how high he can jump, how quick he is? If he just if he wanted to, if he just cared about being decent and he moved his feet, he would be a really good perimeter defender.
All Russell Westbrook cares about is getting to 10 rebounds so he can get a triple-double. That's all he's ever cared about. Don't you remember the days of Steven Adams blocking out everyone so Russell Westbrook could get a rebound? Because he's a stat compiler, very much like Drew Brees in that way. Doesn't care about winning or losing, cares about compiling stats. One of my least favorite players of all time, Russell Westbrook.
And it's funny because I think that there's a misconception with him because he's really fast. Yep. And because he's like runs really hard and plays crazy. It's funny because he said this about Patrick Beverley, which is kind of true about Patrick Beverley too. But it is kind of true about Russell Westbrook in that you watch him, and for a guy who goes so hard so often, he takes a lot of plays off.
Yep.
He's just not boxing out. He's not doing the little things.
He's a compiler. He is a stat compiler. He is not a winner.
Nope.
He's not a leader. He's not a winner. He's not a leader. He's not someone, if you're teaching your kid to play basketball, you're not teaching them to play like Russell Westbrook. He can't shoot the basketball. He's very, very selfish, very self-absorbed in that way. I thought it was a terrible fit from the beginning. I don't understand why they made this move. I don't understand why anyone would want Russell Westbrook on their team, to be completely honest, unless you're looking for a bench player to score you some points off the bench. I think that's all he could really do.
Honestly, right at this point in his career, because and now I'm like upset with myself because I used to like him thinking that, man, this guy would run through a brick wall for you. Like this guy plays so hard. But and it's one of those things where I watch a lot of games. We all watch a lot of games. But until someone plays for your team, it's different. Yep. Until you know and you watch every one of the preseason games, if you read the stuff, you listen to the podcast, you read the blogs that you're a fan of, you don't really notice. It's like, man, this guy half-assed it again there. Oh, man, he missed 3 more layups again. What the hell was that shot? There are just so many things that it's like when your parents say they're not mad, they're disappointed. I thought if you can't come to a team that's a title team that's got LeBron and AD, and if you can't make adjustments then, you never will. You never will. And it's been unfortunate. But all we need for Eric tonight is for the Lakers to win by 2, and all we need is for CJ to have a great game. Not
even great. 24 points is. Yeah. I mean, that's not a lot considering the usage rate and the shot attempts. I mean, he's taking 20 shots a game. So if he doesn't just shit the bed, and, go 3 for 21. He's going to get those points. And the Lakers could still easily cover with CJ McCollum getting 24 points.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I like that a lot because my thing was, I may have misspoken. Ingram's averaging 5 points less.
No, with CJ. I know. I was like, shit. I thought McCollum was scoring a lot of points. I had to double check and make sure I didn't have a stroke.
Yeah, I may have misspoken there. So if I did, that's my fault. BJ's average, Brandon Ingram's averaging 5 points less. Right. And I'm a huge Ingram guy.
Sure.
I think the offense should be running through him more, and that's part of my issue.
I'm still pissed off about the trade. The same things we just said about Russell Westbrook and being disappointed and everyone. I'm the same with Anthony Davis. I cannot fucking stand Anthony Davis. He makes me sick to my stomach. I hate watching him play basketball. I sit around, especially if I play him in DFS, I just sit around and wait for the tweet. Anthony Davis, head into the locker room, He's got sand in his labes, and he's going to the locker room. His pinky started to throb because I don't know. I can't stand Anthony Davis. I hope the Lakers get as far away from him as possible. It's been hard for me to root for the Lakers because I'm not a Westbrook guy. I'm not an AD guy, and I've never really been a LeBron guy. So this has been a tough year.
You hit it. See, I'm more okay with AD. It's the title. He'll always be good for me since we won that and how he was in the bubble. The one and it was weird because I was never a LeBron guy either, but I was really frustrated when this offseason with like two guys in particular, Kuzma and Caruso, when they left. Because now we literally felt like a team we're just a bunch of hired hitmen.
Yep.
We had, as a fan, there was nothing to get excited really about these long-term guys.
And Austin Reeves? I guess right? Austin Reeves. That's
THT's been really disappointing this year, and THT wasn't like, I drove.
And they have Dwight Howard again. I hate Dwight Howard with the passion, with the fire of 1,000 suns.
And BI and Kuzma and Lonzo. I drove there back-to-back years to watch them in the summer league. So like as a fan, even though those were the bad years for the Lakers, you felt like we were sort of growing with these guys, which is something the Lakers never did. We were kind of getting invested with them. And I understand you made the moves to get it. Like, I'm not even against the moves in general, but it's just you kept nobody. How could you look at a roster and not say, okay, we got to keep one or two of these guys that are like Laker guys, not even with the fit, but that's
the last time we sort of had that was back in the early 90s. Remember, they weren't very good, but we had the Nick Van Exel, Sedale 3, exactly. Eldon Campbell. I loved some Eldon Campbell and Cedric Sabala. So that it kind of had that same feel. Of course, we weren't going to, and we had the chain smoking Serb, Vlade Divac, just chain smoking on the bench.
Kind of got you to the point to get Shaq and Kobe. You know what I mean? Like you were close there, and you at least. We were Eddie Jones, we had these guys.
I loved Eddie Jones. Like Eddie Jones, I worshipped at his feet. We're
gonna have a Laker podcast one of these days, like a back through the years. So
like you look at it, like who thinks that Kuzma and who else they trade? KCP, those guys were great on the wing defensively.
They were perfect fits. They were perfect fits.
Yeah.
This thing had, like Kyle said, like their whole offseason was just disaster.
Pure disaster. I've watched less Laker games than I watched every single game Kobe Bryant ever played for the Lakers. I didn't care. I even went to jail once on a DUI and I watched that goddamn game in jail. Okay. I was not missing a Kobe game. Now it's like, if I miss a Laker game, I'm like, it's not a big deal.
My son was born and I had on my phone the night he was born, the Lakers started a 10-game winning streak. They beat the Suns. They were playing in Phoenix, and it was 2.5 years ago when they won the title that year. And I was watching it on my phone. I have never been less invested in a Lakers team than this year. There have been way worse teams. We were just talking about. There were 6 consecutive years where the Lakers broke their record for least wins. And I loved those teams so much more than this because you knew what you were getting with those teams. They weren't as talented, but they were going to try. They were going to put an effort out. This team doesn't even try on defense. And I actually feel bad for Frank Vogel because he did a pretty damn good job for a couple years. And I don't think he's done a great job this year. It's been a bad fit, but it's just been a bad marriage from the very beginning.
Agreed.
This roster shouldn't have been put together. And if it was, he shouldn't be the guy leading them because he's not a great offensive coach. And it's just, we could go on for 2 hours about the Lakers, but I'm going to give you one of my plays for a little bit later on today. I locked this one in again. Very lucky last night right away. I like Dallas plus the 4 and Dallas plus the 148 here. They're playing at Golden State later tonight. The Warriors without Draymond Green, they're only 15-11. Now, in their last 5 games before the All-Star break, They allowed at least 111 points in all of those games. They came back from the All-Star break. They blew out Portland. Now, keep in mind, Portland is really undermanned right now. They just lost Nurkic, too. They've got nothing there. Just a team full of role players that's playing hard. Like
people underestimate that Nurkic thing. So I've gone to plenty of Portland Trailblazer games. That home crowd in Portland fucking loves Nurkic. Bosnian Beast blasts through that thing. I mean, every time he does everything, everyone freaks. You know who they hate more than anyone? Myers Leonard. It's really funny if you hear Portland Trailblazer season ticket holders talk about Myers Leonard. It's absolutely hilarious. But anyways, I digress.
No, that's great. And so I'm not taking a whole lot out of that Golden State win there. Now, the Mavs and the Warriors, they've split their games this year. And what I like is the Dallas new acquisitions played pretty well recently. Bertans and Dinwiddie, who were miserable in Washington. Bertans couldn't even get off the bench, but they're going to be in spaces where they're just going to have wide open looks all the time. If you just hit their shots, they're going to be fine. Dinwiddie scored 20 the other night. Bertans scored 17. They went 7 of 12 from 3 because you focus on Luka. He kicks it out to you. You're wide open. You're going to get a look. They played, and Luka shot 8 for 24 the other day when they played at Utah, but they still only lost that game by 5. There was a little bit of an interesting date, January the 25th. Golden State beat Dallas that day by 35. They beat them 130-92. They kicked the crap out of them. Since that game, the Mavericks are 8-4. The only games they've lost by 2, by 6. They lost in overtime and by 2 again. So they've not had any games where they've been beat up. Their only losses have been close defeats. The game that Golden State crushed them, Dallas shot 35% from the field. They were going to get their asses kicked by anybody that day. They just shot really, really poorly. I like Dallas in here. I'm going to be fading the Warriors a little bit because I think they're like average to a little bit above average without Draymond. They are fun. We still get excited about Clay and Steph, but they're not a championship level team without Draymond Green. And he has been out for a month and a half now, and we really don't know a whole lot about when he's going to come back. This is a weird injury. It's a back thing, so be a little bit careful. I'm playing Dallas today. Plus, I locked him in at +4. I was able to lock him in at +148 on the money line. So
I like a 3-point prop in this one too. Look at Dorian Finney-Smith, over 1.5 threes. It's at -120. That number's coming down for him. He's hit 2 or more threes in 6 of his last 8 games. Only hit 1 in the last game, but everything you just mentioned, they're going to be worse defensively in the front court. Luka's going to be penetrating. And if he kicks it out, Dorian Finney-Smith, let me just look at his attempts here in those last 8 games. The 3 attempts he took in his last game was his lowest in his last 4, but 5, 7, 6, 3, 10, 8, 5, 6. He's hit 3, 1, 3, 3, 2, 2, 4, 4, 1, and 0. So over 1.5 at -120 makes a lot of sense too. In this one.
I like that. Probably just the way that Dallas is going to play, they're going to be forced to playing smaller now. Yeah. They're going to have to play smaller a lot more without Porzingis. I think it was a good trade for them because, hey, if you know you're not going to have Porzingis on the court most nights, at least you get a couple other pieces that you can have some nights. Absolutely. And Dinwiddie is the type of a guy who, if Luka's struggling, he can come in for 5-minute stretches and sort of take over the game when he's hot. He can't do it all the time, but he still has that ability. So that's a play for me. Fellas, before we get out of here, any other plays tonight?
I think that's it.
Good to go. We had a lot of fun today on our first NBA show. We'll probably do this twice a week. I think we're going to check in again on Tuesday night around 6:00 p.m. Eastern time, 3 Pacific, and we'll get you set up for a few games on that Tuesday night slate. We'll be back here again next week on Sunday because we'll always come at about 2:00 p.m. Eastern time, 11 Pacific. That way we'll have plenty of time to preview that game that goes at 3:30, and then we can hit on any other games throughout the night. Make sure to give Kyle a follow there at DFS Bachelor. Give Eric a follow there on Twitter. A couple really great follows. If you are sports bettors of any level, they'll give you very serious stuff. These are guys that rewatch everything, that dig into everything, that actually play to make a living, to make money. But they're also going to be talking and providing information. So that's not going to go really over your head, right? If you're someone who maybe is like just getting into gambling and just getting into betting, I don't think they're going to be saying things that you won't be able to understand. And guys are always willing and open for help, for questions. If you ever need a little bit of help in this space, I love providing any insight that I have. And Guys, this is going to be a lot of fun. I really look forward to catching up with you every week and talking some NBA. We've got a couple months left, and we'll get into the playoffs. So still a ton of good money to be made.
Yeah, I mean, especially maybe in the playoffs, we add a few more shows if we want a few things. You know, we can do this every damn day. I like talking NBA, and I like getting live and doing it, and we can have a little bit of fun because, as you mentioned, I have to be so serious on the other ones. I absolutely hate it. You know how bad I just want to be hammered and flip off the camera and just say,
F-bomb, have a drink,
get the hell out of here. We can do that here at BTV. That's why it's cool to follow us, watch us, because we have a good time over here. We're not just a bunch of stiff
toughies.
Yeah, we're not a bunch of dorks, you know. So
and
I'm a dork.
Today also, Akbar was letting us know too. That's another positive, and probably why that line has moved a little bit. Also, jumped up a few extra points. So, positives on the Utah side. Akbar, thank you for hanging out with us. Thanks to all of you for hanging out with us. Flip those notifications on for @BTV Bets. Kyle, you got the backdoor cover later tonight, right?
That's right, 8:00 tonight, backdoor cover, and look. If you're not watching the show because you're at church and you're rewatching it afterwards, you probably don't want to watch that show. If you have your kids hanging out with you at 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 Pacific, and you're sitting down in the living room, you probably don't want to watch this show. Come in with an open mind, a good sense of humor, and be ready to be offended because that's what
my girlfriend Stephanie. One of the nights that I joined you guys on the backdoor cover, I was like, "Oh, hey, I'm going to do this thing for a few minutes." She's like, "No problem," but she was just sitting in the background and she heard everything, and then afterwards she was like, "That was a show? I thought that was a Zoom call that you guys were just having with each other. Like, that was actually live on there." I was like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "Oh shit, yeah." So
it's the funnest show I've ever done. It's cool that we get to do it, but it's not for the faint of heart. So don't come in there easily offended, or we're gonna have a lot of fun with you as well.
Eric's got Eric and the Wolf of Oaklawn have a little Tuesday cocktail hour where they have some fun, take a drink, and start to get a little bit loose also. So everybody's getting inspired by this fun, loose. I feel like we can do that because it's not in place of the great analysis and information. It's in addition to, right?
Just people need it. The world's stuffy right now. Every little thing you do, wah, 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 wah. Participation trophies. Not here at BTV. No. We're going to let loose, have a good time. That's the whole point of the show.
We'll be here with you talking NBA twice a week. Flip those notifications on @BTV Bets. Eric, good luck to you today, my man. Kyle, good luck. We'll be watching the backdoor cover a little later on. Folks, I hope you all crush it this weekend. We'll see you in just a few days.